of disposable pecuniary interest. Does anyone have anything to declare? It's looking like a no. 13724, apologies for absence. Thank you very much.
Right. Get them to me.
Okay. Okay.
You accept apologies for lateness, Chair. Sorry.
You weren't the only person who was late today, so don't worry about it too much. Feel better.
You were the latest, though. All the good work I've done. Sorry.
13824 to confirm the minutes of the Community Environmental Services Committee meeting held on June the 4th, 2024. Can I have a proposer, please? Stuart, and a seconder. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. 13924, revised terms of reference. I've got to thank Alan here for doing some really sterling work on smashing this together and getting some strong terms of reference. Do you want to say anything about it?
All I've done is we had at the last meeting, it was asked to revise and come back to this meeting, and this is really what it does. I've highlighted in yellow the changes that the meeting originally asked. On the first bullet point, for example, it's showing there I had the Amenities Committee instead of the Community and Environmental Services Committee. We also I was asked to accommodate the non-councillors who were former members of the allotment committee, to invite them to this meeting when we have matters to be discussed that impact on allotments. We added the climate and biodiversity. There were some grammatical errors there, so they've now been corrected, I hope. And then the last thing that I was asked was to put some time frames on when we would review the policies. So I put in brackets when this would happen, because not all the policies need to be reviewed every single year. And that was it.
Thank you very much. So we are recommending this to full council, aren't we? Could I have a proposer for that, please? Matt, and a seconder. Stuart. Thank you very much. All in favour? Thanks. We move on to 14024, Town Team Manager's Report.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be pleased to know it's half the size of last month, so it shouldn't take us along this time. But we'll kind of glide through it. So the town team again have been through the month of June, working on maintenance and cleaning tasks, checking town street furniture, play parks, toilets, allotment sites, open spaces and cemeteries areas, as well as the buildings and assets owned by the town council. Again, we've been working alongside Breckland and Norfolk wherever possible, and highways to report issues under their ownerships to help improve areas of the town. The main challenges the team have faced this month are the weeding and enhancing of areas of the town ahead of this year's Angler in Bloom judging visit, which is due to take place on Friday the 12th of July. Securing grazing of sheep for sites to be conservation grazed. Engagement alongside Breckland and outsourced support agency for Breckland engagement of rules and the grazing of sites and dogs on leads. Many of the areas which have seen a huge issue of weeds and long grass are owned by Norfolk County Council. The town team urges members of the public and businesses to write and complain to Norfolk County Council to highlight the issues we face as a town and the negative effect this causes on the promotion of Thetford becoming a greater recognised town in Norfolk. Officers continue to correspond with Norfolk County Council Highways on the issues that we face, and to work together with them to resolve these issues with working partnerships being set up wherever possible. Unfortunately, current correspondence and communication from Norfolk Highways has been very poor, with a huge lack of support currently not shown to Thetford. Underpasses, so the team have continued to clean areas of underpasses, including Minister Gate, Glebe Close and Croxton Road, and assist with keeping these areas clean and free from graffiti. They've also continue to contact Norfolk Highways to stress to them that these assets are not our responsibility and are their responsibility, and they have an obligation to maintain these. Street lighting, so the team have recently been working hard assisting residents who continue to report faulty street lighting throughout the town. This month has included lighting columns in areas of St John's Way and the Abbey Estate, We've also built up a working partnership with the properties team at Breckland Council. This will hopefully enable us to ensure that repairs to faulty Breckland-owned assets are carried out as quickly and efficiently as possible for future reports coming through. Dog fouling and fly tipping, so the team have continued to monitor the areas of town council owned areas of land where enforcement signs to various sites including Castle Park, Melford Common and Barnham Common have been recently cited. This has shown a recent positive effect and issues on these areas have been reduced significantly as we work with Breckland enforcement team and the street wardens in tackling both of these issues. Street furniture, scheduled existing playground equipment is being washed and cleaned and is currently being audited ahead of playgrounds being refurbed and painted at the various areas of the town. Many of the street bollards and finger posts will also be shortly scheduled in for a much needed revamp, and these will all be freshly painted in the coming weeks and months. We're also in the process of continuing to report through all the litter bins and dog waste bins which are needed replacement or repairs within the open spaces and estate areas owned by Breckland Council. The team is currently in the process of painting the town's cast iron benches and cleaning the various litter bins located within the town centre. Benches which have now recently been cleaned and refurbished currently include the Riverside area, and the team will be continuing this programme throughout the town centre in the coming weeks. Thetford in Bloom, so this year's Thetford in Bloom is well underway, and we've now received confirmation of the judge's visit for Thetford. This will be on Friday the 12th of July, and the day will start with the In Bloom judges being met and greeted by the town's various community groups and volunteers that have been invited to come along, as well as officers and councillors who have all displays set up in promoting everything they do for Thetford and its community. The category nominations for Thetford are Large Town, the Cemetery and Conservation Sites. 2024 has seen a huge increase in local business participation and the community participation. Over 25 local businesses and the Norfolk County Council Transport Division have supported in helping for a positive change to the town. All businesses have supported this year will have their names advertised on individual planters and further social media posts, including the Town Council's news that will include and thank all those who have contributed to this year's Thetford in Bloom 24. We'd like to take this opportunity to also thank all the local groups and community organisations that go out of their way to make a difference for Thetford and its community. Many of the local groups that the team and officers have recently come across take very little praise or self-gratitude in doing what they do for Thetford. To them, they say it's not about the self-glory of being recognised, but just making a difference within the local community for others to enjoy our beautiful town. We thank them so much for their continuous hard work and dedication to our town in helping keep areas looking so beautiful. Thetford in Bloom competition, so all nominations have now been received and we're currently arranging a judging date which has now been set. This will then be followed by the awards presentation event for winners and guests on Friday the 19th of July for those who have been nominated. The event has been again kindly sponsored by Simon Long Removals and will see the 4 categories below judged on for the nominations. Best Front Garden, Best Business Floral Display, Environmental Champion and the Best Environmental Project. At present, following a further extended 2 weeks to allow more nominations, we currently have 10 nominations for the Best Front Garden, 1 Environmental Champion nomination, nothing at the moment for the Best Floral Business Display, and again, nothing unfortunately for the Environmental Project. The judges will take on the categories that have sadly not received any nominations to seek a respectable winner for Thetford. Town Centre, so the town team have recently been working hard alongside the volunteers and weeding the key focus areas and routes into the town. We continue to email and contact, again, Norfolk County Council Highways to stress to them that these are their key responsibilities for Thetford. We also continue to report any defects in assets owned by Breckland and Norfolk within the town centre so these can be carried out and completed as soon as possible. Again, we continue to urge the members of the public, councillors and businesses to carry on reporting through as well to these organisations. The team have recently carried out a full sensitive clean using specialised products for the Thomas Paine statue base. This will now enable the plinth areas to be cleaned free from accumulating algae, and a full wash down of the area has been carried out. Quotes have also been obtained for the plinth restorations and to the lettering of the panels, but due to the high associated costs and specialism needed for these works, we will now need to put this out on a tendering process for the much needed renovation due to the financial regulations. Public conveniences, so the public toilets have received improvements over the last few weeks to the facilities, and we are continuing to investigate further improvements of vinyl flooring replacements being put into Cage Lane and Castle Park for the future. The public convenience opening hours at each site have also been extended to reflect the summer season. We continue to monitor the QR code and feedback received for the facilities. We are now pleased to also announce that we have recruited Mark, our new amenities assistant, who is working alongside our current contractor as they serve their notice period. Mark has also been carrying out further cleaning to the areas including King's Square, the marketplace and the town centre areas owned by the town council. Grazing of open spaces. So the grazing of the open spaces has again proved challenging and very time consuming, but we have now secured sheep of a modern background breed for the Castle Mound and Ramparts. This site will now be grazed with a breed that will reduce the levels of the site, and the volunteers will then be able to assist with the reducing of the invasive species to the site that are taking hold currently. Signage has recently been placed to the site and there is being locked off to the left-hand side in readiness of their arrival. We're now in the process of also securing sheep graziers potentially for the Barnham Common, and a huge amount of work has recently taken place with community and site user engagement in the rules of the area where livestock are placed. This engagement has seen a grazing leaflet produced, which both Breckland Council enforcement officers and the local support company who have been handing out these to further engage with anyone walking in within the area, and particularly those found with dogs walking off leads. The SAM2 speed machine has recently been installed to the Cloverfields area, where that is now gathering data for a period of 4 weeks. The SAM2 has now also then been moved on to St John's Way, where this is now also gathering data for another 4 weeks. All data once received will then also be passed over to Norfolk Highways and the local stag route through Councillor Matt MacDonald. We now have received further correspondence from residents at both Norwich Road and Mill Lane regarding speed and traffic. Meetings are now being organised with residents where concerns are raised to look at the site and the machine being placed within these areas. And we've also agreed already to site the SAM2 at Norwich Road as the next location after meeting with residents this week. Other works the team have recently been carried out include cleaning of footpaths, flower bed maintenance, again removal of abandoned highway signage, cleaning of public areas of vegetation, facility checks, allotment clearances, staff training and development. Our contractor has also carried out the much needed repairs to Gentles Bridge. Tree work, so our contractors have just recently cleaned the tree that was across the river at Mill Lane. Thetford's first green bus shelter, so investigations are still continuing into the first green bus shelter for Thetford, and quotes are still currently being obtained, and further investigations are also taking place with partner councils for land permissions and planning are also being investigated if needed. The conservation volunteers, so the volunteers have been working busy alongside the town team every Thursday morning. Sites worked on recently included Ford Meadow, the Cemetery, Barnham Common and Nuns Bridges. Work has included cutting back vegetation to paths, as well as monitoring wildlife on sites. They've also carried out some recommended works to the Creep and Marshfort site to help that rare species of plants survive further. They've also been carrying out a butterfly survey and carrying out some sort of wildlife monitoring within those areas. The group have continued to carry out also transects to Barnham Common site. This really also improves to people within the local area how important these areas are for the wildlife of the town. And then we've got a total of hours. So moving on, so the conservation hours this month equated to 37.5 hours with a joint collaboration of Thetford and Bloom.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As ever, hugely comprehensive and very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a tenner I owe someone, I think. Comments, please.
Thank you. We heard about the street wardens. Is there anything in particular they're finding is more of a problem than not?
Particularly on our sort of sites or?
Yes.
Yeah, so the main one for us is dogs being walked on leads, especially within the grazing areas.
Thanks.
And we've also had a lot of antisocial behaviour within the King's Square areas that's been reported through as well.
Right. That's the one I was hoping you'd say. Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased, Nick, to see the contractor down Nuns Bridges clearing the tree out of the river. Thank you for pursuing that. I happened to be going past yesterday when they were doing it. Will either they or the town council be reinstating some of the land around there? I'm glad it's done. The soil was a bit wet and they've choked it up a bit, which is understandable. Will somebody be making?
The town team will go along now that work's completed, and we'll just tidy up the area where the machinery is being.
And I'm really pleased to see Gentle Bridge repairs.
Yes.
I think they've done a really good job there. So.
Definitely. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, just really a thank you to your team. It's like a rapid response unit, I think. I've sort of reported some sort of high trees and dangerous looking trees over the last 3 or 4 weeks, which have been sort of looked at, surveyed. And also the speed that your team worked for cleaning up the park on Edinburgh Way, which was, I believe, on a Saturday morning, which was very, very good. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to also say thanks for all the great work you're doing. Fantastic. I have missed a few meetings, so I wasn't sure what the issues on the grazing of the open space is making it so challenging. And have we still got cows on there, or?
We've got cows, we've got some cattle that are grazing the Barnham Common at the moment. But the main sort of challenging situation we've had is because we've had previous dog attacks on especially the Barnham Common. Word kind of got out to local graziers that Thetford wasn't the place to bring your livestock. It was the last place that you wanted to come and graze animals. So unfortunately, word had spread throughout the grazing community, which has proved very, very challenging to get anybody to come on board and willing to work within any realms of areas of Thetford, because people are walking the dogs, unfortunately, off leads. And there has been several instances of sheep being savaged. Yeah.
Thanks.
Have we got a date for the sheep on Castle Park?
So the last conversation I had with the grazier this week was that she's waiting just for the clearance from DEFRA that she can move the livestock. She has put all the applications in, and she was hoping within 10 days. The conversation I had was on Tuesday. So she said within 10 days, hopefully we will have those sheep on there. But she has definitely confirmed to me she is definitely grazing that site.
Definitely there.
Because after 5 times of asking, are you grazing that site?
Anybody else? Yes, Scott.
I was just going to say, is the nominations for the Thetford in Bloom, is that now closed?
No, we're still welcoming. So there is still time before the judging takes place. So we would welcome any more that come in prior to the judging happening. More the merrier, to add to the list. So it's been great. Yeah, thank you.
Good. If no one else has got anything, I've got a few items to talk about. First one of which being Edinburgh Way. We saw again there was some vandalism again today with the play part painted. This is becoming a bit of a running sore, isn't it?
It is, unfortunately. Yes. Yeah, we have been again working with closely with Breckland enforcement team, because we are signifying to them that there is a lot of fly tipping issues within the Abbey Estate areas. I can sort of back that up because I'm a local resident to the area. So unfortunately, we are experiencing a huge increase in fly tipping. And it is something that they are tackling at the moment along with Serco. But we believe potentially some of the materials that was again used for the play area may have been discarded from somebody's shed or garage from a clear out. And then obviously children have got hold of the paint and then thought it was great to redecorate the play area equipment. So the team have obviously had to attend again to do a full clean up, which is quite frustrating. But we continue to battle, and I think it's about a working partnership. Like I say, that is the most important thing for us now, is a working partnership with Breckland and the enforcement team to tackle these issues and to try and get enforcement carried out wherever possible.
Couple of issues arising. I love reading this every month. I really think we need to get this out to a wider audience. Yeah. Can we publicise it via the usual channels, please? In which one of you?
Yeah.
And that also goes for the grazing, I think.
Yes.
Because people, people need to know, don't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Also, I would observe, and this taps into what you were saying, I think, Gordon, and Terry's response, it feels a bit of a recurring theme that you chase Norfolk County Council up and they do very little. I know we did get a substantial sum to help tidy up the area around the bus station.
Yeah.
But again, this doesn't feel like they're pulling the weight. I'm not sure what we could do about that.
No, it's quite frustrating because, like you say, you know, we were very fortunate that we did get a huge amount of support from the Transport Network Department, which is housed as part of Norfolk County Council. And they recognised, you know, that there was a lack of support for a asset that they owned, which was the Thetford bus interchange. So they obviously come on board, and we've made a bit of a transformation down there, and the work still continues on that area through the funding of themselves. But as you say, Terry, you know, it is, you know, the highway sector, unfortunately, that are falling, you know, below the grade of providing us, you know, our services that we, you know, should be getting.
Yeah, I know Terry wrote a very good letter to Norfolk County Council about the absolute mess made of the mowing around town, which was appalling. I mean, it was just, it was substandard by any definition, wasn't it?
Very much.
So I think, I wonder if it's just pester power, to be honest. Okay, well,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It's always massively appreciated. We move on to 14124, Beryl Administrators Report.
Okay, so moving on to the Beryl Administrators Report. Interments. So in June, we carried out a total of 5 interments. 4 were ashes interments, and 1 was an interment in the cemetery extension part. We currently have 1 burial booked in for July in the older part of the cemetery, and 2 ashes interments. We also have 1 ashes interment booked in for August, and there's a spreadsheet provided within the pack showing out all the interments so far within 2024. The process to review the cemetery rules and regulations has now commenced, and a draft will be tabled at the August 2024 committee meeting.
Thank you very much. Any comments? Good. On to 14224, the allotments report.
Okay, so allotments reports. So allotment inspections, following up inspections have begun on plots that have received improvement letters against them at the beginning of April 24. And the general response to the guidelines set out within these letters have had a positive effect in most cases. Re-inspections will continue into July and August. Relinquished plots, so we've had received 5 notices of allotments being relinquished in the month of June, and 3 of those plots have now been cleared and reallocated. The allocations on waiting list. So since the beginning of June, 13 allotment applicants have received an invite to attend on an allotment viewing. This has resulted in 8 applicants going forward with their offered allotment plots. The allotment plot waiting list is currently 17 applicants. The list was checked on the 24th of June 24. 3 of these applicants are looking at the Magdalen Street allotment site, which does not have any vacant plots at present. The same applicants have also now been offered alternative sites but have declined the offers. There are 13 vacant plots on all sites. Mumford Road, 8 full plots and 1 half plot. Berry Road, 1 full plot. Icknield Way, 1 full plot and 2 half plots. The allotment officer would like to bring to the committee's attention the use of allotment plot IC04B, Icknield Way. This area was part allocated to the Icknield Way allotment tenants for the purpose of the communal area, and the area was divided into 2 halves, allowing the tenants to use a quarter of the plot as a shared area. However, the plot has now since become overgrown and neglected, and he would like to suggest that is now offered as a half plot to an applicant on the waiting list. Contractual work, so the appointed pest control company has been monitoring the allotment sites closely and has addressed any matters of concern. At the time of the drafting the report, the appointed grounds management company has also now completed 1 grass cutting operation this year so far. Recommendations for the committee to consider. So plot clearances, in a conscious effort to reduce the use of bonfires to help assist with the disposal of wooden rubbish, it has now highlighted the need to review the Town Council's allotment rules and policy concerning what is expected from our allotment tenants regarding items permitted to be brought on site. The amount of cleared waste timber is a major factor in filling our skips. Rule revisions to consider include individual allotment plot fencing, livestock structures, self-made shed structures, materials in general. Is there a need for conditional held deposits concerning structures, fencing, etc.? The recommendation 2, site security. London Road is the main allotment site which has had security issues, and this is caused by reluctance of a few tenants to close and secure the main gates. It is too frequently found when visiting the site to find the gates are wide open and the combination code unscrambled. To assist with this problem, it is recommended that a blanket letter is sent to all allotment tenants on all sites, emphasising the need of the site security and the consequences for not compliance.
Thank you very much. Comments, Matt?
I've got a question, perhaps I don't understand. Of the 13 applicants who went forward for allotments, 8 were approved, so there were 5 who weren't approved or they didn't want the allotments. What was the reason for that?
We've approved them because they've gone through the list and they've
Yes.
met the criteria. It's just that they would have said that there's too much work, or it wasn't the size, or it wasn't at the allotment site that they had. So a lot of people will say we'd like the Munstead Berry Road, etc. And then when we go and show them, they say, no, we'd actually, can we rather wait for something at Munstead Road?
Right.
So, or it could be, you know, when we put our name on the waiting list, we thought we were going to have lots of time. I've got a new job and I don't have the time to do it. So there's various reasons why.
Yeah.
Then we've done that.
No.
Yeah.
So they go, do they go back to the bottom of the list?
We will, if they just don't respond, we'll actually take them off the list.
Yeah.
If they want, if they do respond and say, no, we want another one,
Yeah.
move them down the list.
Okay, good. Any other comments, David?
A couple of things. So with this Icknield Way plot that's supposed to be a communal area, do they have a committee there who was supposed to make sure it was looked at?
We actually have peace, we have a little bit of peace, sorry.
No, go on.
There was a war zone at one stage, and really what happened is the tenants are actually getting along a lot better. They don't like each other, but they're still getting a lot better. And what they wanted was to have this area as a communal area where they could meet, and etc. The community, I think, there's 3 splits in that whole site.
Yeah.
There's only nine sites, and there are 3 factions. They just don't get on with each other, so they're not going to use the communal site, and no one's going to take the effort of clearing it. But it does require a lot of work. You can't just offer it out, because we'd have to reservate it and do a lot of work to be able to do it. But it's better than having it sit there with a dirty old chair on it, like it used to be.
Yeah.
When we had that informal meeting last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you see allotments on gardening programmes or anything like that, it's like an episode of the Waltons.
Yeah.
Everybody gets along brilliantly. Why is it here?
I got a call from the police yesterday asking me about London Road, because everyone's going to the police and putting counter claims against the other. There's about a group of about 3 there. It's just.
So had they requested a communal area
They
and
did.
that was offered to
We
them?
actually did offer it to them, and
So
they.
do we need to then go back to them and say
We
it's
should.
going to be taken? Yeah.
Do we need to make a decision on that here?
I would think,
I'm quite happy to just say yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can say that that's within the officer's discretion, as long as we communicate it. I think that's really important. You know, we only finalised the elections quite recently. It took me an extra month to get through that process. So now we have a representative. I will go
Just so I
back.
can see it causing even more issues.
No.
Communal area.
Just hardly been nearby. You have like a delegation marching down the road.
I'm offering myself as a hostage for you here, but I don't think it could get worse on there, frankly.
No.
It's the one place where we get all the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to ask another question, if that's right.
Please do.
So on whichever one it was, is it London Road that they're leaving the gate open?
Yes.
I suppose we don't know who is leaving it.
No, so when the officer goes up, the gates are open, and he just hasn't at the moment pinpointed which tenant is causing the issues or which several tenants are causing the issues. He believes it could be several. But yeah, it's just sort of catching them in the act.
Yeah, because that makes it, obviously,
Yeah.
you can write the letter and say something general, like you're
Yeah.
upsetting other people, but you can't say we'll take this action on you because you don't know who it is. I guess.
I think the issue is really that all the sites are unsecure and they can't,
Yeah.
you know, if they get, plants or food stolen, then that's a real issue. Even worse is if they get the equipment going, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes it that much easier to do, doesn't
Yeah, I
it?
think it's just emphasising to all plot holders, you know, the importance of the site security for everybody's benefit. And like you say, it's a constant, you know, monitoring situation of trying to distinguish which tenants are doing it before we can take, you know, that full action of, yeah.
Could we say if we find that you are not securing the gate, you will lose your plot?
Consequences could be, yeah, I think so.
I think that's reasonable.
Definitely, I think that's
They
reasonable.
must be aware of what happened on Mumford Road with the allotments there, and that was secured at the time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So, you know, if we've got any photos of that, we could say, look, this is what happened when it was secured. You're asking people to do this if you leave it unlocked.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need a vote on that. We can do that, can't we, at discretion? Right, any other questions first? Before I go on to the plot clearances stuff, some suggestions there. If anybody's, unless anybody's got any objections, I think we push that forward as well, don't we? With regard to the amount of wood that's been left on site,
Yes.
which causes, well, it costs a lot of money, or you burn it, and either way is unsatisfactory, isn't it?
That's right.
Is there an option for storage of wood? The reason I ask that is we have bonfire night every year. Is there an option to store it for our bonfire?
I suppose the storage option has not given ourselves an issue of a fire hazard becoming.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
So it depends where it's going to be stored and how much quantity would be stored. Yeah,
And equally, I don't think we really want to do anything that is likely to do anything other than discourage people from
yeah,
bringing wood on their,
Yeah.
yeah.
on their plots.
That's a difficult, yeah.
But we identified this as one of the areas that we really have to go and engage again. And I think when we have a meeting, we've basically said to people, you know, at the moment, it's £50 to, you know, if you need to plot in the best, it's £50 you forfeit. It can cost us £200 to £300 just to get a skip.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do is say, well, if you don't, I mean, we've really tried to test this at London Road where we have one particular plot. I think there's more wood there than in Thetford Forest. We've actually said to them, we're actually going to evict you and sell all your wood to recover the cost of doing so, unless you clear it. Because it really is, I mean, you can hardly see the allotment site. I mean, there's just piles of wood and big structures. They call it the castle, you know, and it's actually built, his heads live in a castle, the only ones, I think, in Thetford that do. So it's really a matter of getting that, you know, and just, it's worked a little bit because he has started to clear away some stuff, but he can't do anything on his allotment site because he's got so much stuff on it. So
I think you've definitely hit the nail on the head there, Alan, that, you know, the engagement is the biggest, you know, thing. And like you say, you know, with that instance, with that allotment, and then we've had another allotment holder, particularly that had hoarded quite a lot of material, hadn't realised the consequences of what he was going to be left with, unfortunately. And then came to us and said, could we assist? And we said, no, you know, we may be able to assist, but it's going to cost you. You know, we cannot forfeit the cost of this allotment clearance. Is your issue. You have created it. We can help you, but we will not clear and we will not pay for you to have that allotment cleared. You know, you can either clear it yourself or you will get a notice to quit. There's no two ways about it. And I think it is just standing firm and, like you say, engaging with allotment holders and saying, you know, this is the situation we've got, this is the cost, and kind of pushing that information to them.
But do I understand that right? That actually the penalty for doing it is less than the cost of the skip and everything else that you're going to have to do?
Definitely is, Mac.
and that's what that recommendation is about, is to say, if you've got specific, if you bring instructions and you don't actually, and you shouldn't have brought them in, we will actually say to you, instead of paying £50, you have to now pay £300.
Yeah.
Because if you leave the allotment or we evict you from the allotment, we're going to have to incur that cost. So therefore, you can pay it up front, and you know, unless you pay it from before, you will refund it again. But that's really the issue that we have. And I think at some of the sites, you know, some of the sites it's actually not a big problem. I think Berry Road is not a big problem.
No.
London Road, it's a huge problem.
Yes.
Broadway, there's no problem whatsoever. You know,
No.
we don't have. Mumford Road, there's a mixture of it. So, but you know, the cost of skips used to be quite cheap, but they're actually really, really expensive now. So, you know, we've got to mitigate that. And what we do in our rules, sorry, is that we also say that we can recover the cost of view. So if this particular allotment was pulled there, it would be worth our while to pay £80 to go get a summons, a court comes to a claim against him, rather than us, even though we're still going to pay the £350, but at least we can make his life a little bit uncomfortable for leaving the situation in our hands. And that's £80 well worth spent, in my opinion.
I think this is all very reasonable. We are not a charity. No. There is a financial implication for everything we do. And I think plot holders, one way or another, have to know that, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So can we push those rule revisions forward? Are we happy with that? Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. I think that's it, unless anyone's got any more on allotments. 14324, the market report.
Okay, so the market report. So the market coordinator has resigned, with her last working day being the 29th of June 24. The process to recruit a new market manager has now already commenced. It has been suggested that the job description of the former market coordinator be changed, which has merit and needs to be considered by the committee. The suggestion is that a position of a market officer be created. This will involve setting up and breaking down the market, ensuring that the market rules are followed, and collecting payment as the main task associated with the position. The promotion of the market through the website and social media should be added to the role of the communications officer. This separation will more easily match skill sets and make the recruitment of a market officer more easier.
Comments?
So it's going to turn more physical work rather than office-based work. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that one of the issues with the most recent coordinator was that she was well liked on the market by the stallholders and did good work in terms of setting up, putting away, taking the money, and generally maintaining the market area. Some of the other stuff was perhaps not so great. I think it is a challenge to get somebody who can do both of those, who is willing to do both of those things, work on early on a Saturday morning and do all that stuff. The suggestion came from one of the market stall holders to split that up, actually. And I think it's a very good suggestion. I don't know if you've got anything to add.
I think because we've been trying.
Yeah, I think we've been trying to work with a local recruitment agent to try and get some of the ideal skill set for the position and the role, and they was struggling. And then I had a conversation to say, would the difference be a lot easier to recruit if we kind of took this suggestion forward and removed the marketing side, and we just had it as a general setting up and making sure everybody's compliant on the day of the market, as well as collecting fees cashless. And they said absolutely that would make it 100% more easier. We could probably get you somebody within a week. But at the moment, we are struggling to find the skill set that you are requiring and asking for the market officer, with the promotion side and the social media and all the marketing side as well. So it was definitely a positive effect from that agent, recruitment agent, that would make the process a lot easier. Yes.
And the communication officer is will take on, is badly taking on that extra.
Yeah.
Is it a full-time role or is it just a part-time?
No, part-time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume
I presume it's Tuesday, Saturday.
Yeah.
16 hours a week.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
So would the role, would the role include like the paperwork, any kind of office-based work, like collecting paperwork from new stall holders? And would they then work with the communication officer as well?
Yeah, joint collaboration work and partnership, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think I'm right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Hazel, the comms officer, has said she's very happy to do the work on a Saturday regarding comms from home. She can't be there.
Yeah.
She's got 2 young children.
That's right.
But she's very willing if the person who's doing the shall we call it labouring work for want of a better expression, if they're, send her a number of photographs, she'll sort it out from home, vis-a-vis the promotion end of stuff. Which I think is a really satisfactory way of doing things.
Yes.
Any further comments? Yeah, go on, Stuart.
I don't know, so probably sound a bit negative on this. Look, going on the fact that the market on a Tuesday is very, 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 very quiet. Is it not worth having, say, the market officer just the time being 8 hours Saturday with a view to increase hours if the Tuesday market picks up? Because if you're only having 1 or 2 stalls on the market on a Tuesday, you know, that person's getting 8 hours money for not really doing too much. If that's,
Well, someone's got to set the stuff up
well, yeah.
and bring it in and take the money. It's not just sort of hanging around.
So whose job is it going to be to bring in new market holders?
That'll be Hazel.
Communication officer will do all the promotion.
I think you raised a good point, Stuart, about Tuesday. There was 1 stall on there earlier today. I've been asking Alan and Nick if we can get the events team to get something on the market every Tuesday over the summer holidays.
Yes.
Because we're fast approaching the point now where it's going to fail, where there's no point in having it again. And I don't want to see that. I think
It's got to be used for something.
well, no, it's got to be used for a market. And we're in a sort of vicious cycle of decline at the moment. We need to arrest that and turn it around. And I feel one of the ways is by having other offers on there. So and the obvious one would be after I think it was around the time of the continental market, we had some stuff for kids on there. And I think that would be perfect over the school holidays. School holidays are often a poor time for market stalls anyway. I think that's just a way of getting footfall back on there and getting, as I say, stopping that decline and reversing it.
I noticed recently that Rafa had a stall on there, and I think that's really good if we're just filling up some of the space, even if they're not selling something, it makes it look busy. Because I think one of the big complaints is that, for those who want to complain about it, you've taken away our car park and now you're not even using it.
I agree.
So we need to physically show that there's something there, whether it, great to have kids stuff on there, but, other things where I don't know whether we charge people like Rafa to go on there. I assume we don't.
I'm not sure in that particular instance, the charge would be minimal.
Yeah. Okay, because they're not actually selling anything, they're just.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay.
And yes, I endorse that, Hazel.
So getting a bit not off topic, but so at the Green Fair we had quite a lot of people doing music and talks and things, and it really helped the atmosphere. And I wonder if on a Saturday we could do like an open mic session or something where we invite people into.
I wouldn't say no to that. My big concern at the moment is Tuesdays. This Saturday we had, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think 9 stalls, which is all right. That's decent. Today there was, I say, 1, and one of our sort of regular Tuesday people has said he's not doing it anymore now. I'm really struggling.
We should do this up on a Tuesday, but obviously people might be less willing to come along if there's not.
Yeah. Well, this is what we've got to do. And this is why I suggest we take it in-house to do this, using the events team to actually provide something to bring people along. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't do that. It's a bit difficult because it's cross-committee and all the rest of it. That's a bit of a headache for you, I know, Alan, but...
I mean, I did go to a market up in Lincolnshire. I just happened to pass it, and they got stalls on there with animals. And it just occurs to me that while we've got grazing animals on there, it might be an opportunity for the grazier or somebody, it doesn't have to be that person, to bring animals on, and talk about them and, tell them what's going on.
I'm open to any ideas about activities we could have, frankly.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just thinking about what we can have, there's, again, talking about the Green Fair, just because it's recent and I organised it, there were lots of community groups doing activities for children. So like the museum came and they were making bird feeders and doing activities. And like, I think we had 5 different stalls all local community groups doing kids activities. And I don't see a reason why we wouldn't need them loads every Tuesday, even just 1 or 2 coming down and doing something engaging to bring people. There's loads of options, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. It's about getting hold of those people.
Yeah.
And in this light, I think this is where Hazel's got to work out a bit, isn't it?
I mean, a good example of that is we use the men's shed stuff to do some of our bird boxes, and that, don't we? You know, and I think they're always looking for an opportunity to expand and show people what they do.
They've been on that. They've been on the market before, and they're really good.
Yeah.
And you know, I think we need to be a bit sort of. I know we've got our finance report coming up, but I think we need to be a bit cute about the sort of deals we can offer people.
Yeah. Okay.
Not too rigid, let's say. Let's put it that way.
And just to follow on from that specifically, actually doing interactive stuff. So if the men's shed said, we're going to build bird boxes this Tuesday, you'd get people coming in for activities.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel quietly that I think councillors have a bit of a responsibility here as well as just Paul Hazel, you know, to come forward with ideas, make a bit of noise, go out to people. We've got these, I don't think we've mentioned it yet, we've got the pack, well, you've got one in front of you, you've got the packs to go out.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really lovely idea to go out to outreach, to go to, say, Brandon, Watton, Bury, Swaffham, and take these with us and just engage with market traders. I was at a function at the Fox at Garblesham on Friday night, had a chat with a guy in a food van there who's very willing to come along in time. That's the sort of thing we need to be doing. People want to expand their businesses, we've got to catch them. Thank you. 14424 financial reports.
These are hot off the press. I think the ink is still dry, so I do apologise for the lateness of the view. This is the first time we've actually done it, and we've had to restructure all the charts of accounts to reflect the committee structure. And what we've also used the opportunity to do is to provide far more detail. And previously, you used one line item that contained 4 or 5 different things. So what we've done now is we've actually created general ledger codes for those, and it shows. Now, today's only the 2nd of July. At the end of the month means some of the invoices were only starting to come through this afternoon. So this is very preliminary, and I'd hate to say, you know, this is the status of where we are in terms of our finances. But we've got 4 financial reports that this committee now has a look at. The very first one is what I call the general, the former amenities committee. There's just a couple of things I'd like to highlight there. On the income side, you'll notice the donations in blue. If you look at the top there, the income, it's 4490. And that again is attributable to Nick. Nick has done a fantastic job in going out to businesses, and that's what he's been talking about. That doesn't include the £6,000 that we're going to receive from Norfolk County Council, because we can't build them yet, or we certainly couldn't build them by the 30th of June. If I just page down, you'll see we've allocated our salaries for this very first time. There's other costs that we need to allocate, but we started with the salaries. And this department, your salaries, we've spent about 45,000, and we budgeted 80,000 because we budgeted for apprentices, we budgeted for people starting at the beginning of the financial year, and some of those people started a little bit later. The only other cost is toilets expenditure towards the bottom there. We didn't end our toilet contract at the beginning of the financial year that we'd hoped. We went out, we advertised, we had 2 sets of adverts, and we didn't get anyone. We've only now done that. So notice will go to the existing contractor, so those costs will reduce. And then the very last one, which is the one that is the only cost that keeps me awake at night, is vehicle leasing, because we are we're spending a lot of money on our vehicles. We've increased the team. Previously, if the team was working out and someone had to come in, the whole team had to come in because there weren't sufficient vehicles. We've now got the sufficient vehicles to get better productivity, but we haven't actually budgeted for that. We have to find a solution for that. So that's one of the things that we will have to have a look at quite urgently in the next month or so. So if I stop there, I know that there's so much information on the sheet that you need bionic eyes to be able to, or magnifying glass to read them, but they have been distributed to you. And, you know, this is only month 3 out of 12, so there will be other opportunities to look at the numbers and comment if that arises. Happy for me to move on?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, in the cemetery is a little bit easier. Hopefully you can read the numbers. There's not very much to talk about there except on cemetery maintenance. You'll see that that's quite high. And that's, we have a disabled access from the car park down a wooden ramp, and that had rotted. So we had to replace that. We couldn't leave that. And that really was an unforeseen expense. And that's about I think it's about 3,000 of the 3,248. But hopefully there'll be savings in other areas as we go forward. But the cemetery's okay. I think the numbers, we had a very poor, I hate to say this, from an internalist perspective, not very many burials in April, but May and June, there's been quite a few. And this year might be the year that we actually run out of space because we're restricted to 25 per annum. The next one is allotments. Income is okay. We only bill allotment holders once a year, so most of that money comes in October, November. Our allotment year starts on the 11th of October. Don't ask me where that date came from, but that's when everyone gets billed from. And so a lot of our income will come in those 2 months. From the expenditure side, there's just maintenance, that's 3992. And we had to do some urgent tree work at the Munford Road and London Road allotment site. And so there's about £3,500. It's 3,000, it's about £3,500 on, it's exactly £3,700 on sorting out the trees at those 2 sites. Again, that's an unrecurring but unforeseen expense that we had to incur. And then lastly, on the market side, there's not very much happening on the market. The income is not too bad in relation to the previous year. Expenditure, I was scratching my head today because I couldn't understand why the salary budget is under, but I'll work that out and find out what it would be there. But there certainly is sufficient over budgeting in other areas of cemetery, of community and environmental services.
Thank you very much for all your hard work, Alan. It's appreciated. I do think it's important to say this gives us a much more rounded picture of what's actually happening within the committee more widely. Yes, ma'am.
I know that there's an increase in money on the allotments for tree work. Things like the hedge that runs along the Munford Road, is that our responsibility as well? So that's already included in it? Okay.
Yeah.
It might be under open space though. It's so difficult to break down.
Yes.
What they do is they bill us for, they take a contract value divided by 12 and then they bill us for that. So Nick then has the responsibility of checking that they've followed their work program. So I think things like that, they're not going to sit there and say, well, their invoice is quite generic. So we do the split ourselves based on their tender and allocate it up. But things like hedge cutting for the allotments was not one of the line items that they had in their tender. It would have been general hedge maintenance. And it would just be falling in the general amenities committee costs. Yeah. Contracted costs.
So it must be quite difficult to work out what bit costs.
Does. Yeah. But it's all indicative, at the end of the day. Our allotments haven't cost us a lot of money in the last 4 or 5 years. But whether we've allowed build-up of emergency maintenance because we've neglected it, that's the risk that we always face with not doing our...
Yeah, I think the fact that we're now taking the issue of storage on allotments seriously, I think that will come at a premium. And I think the fact that we're building up a bit, rather than being all wahey about it, I think we need to be cautious about going forward. Is that fair?
Just one other thing then, and on cemeteries costs, I think it kind of fell off the plot a little bit about what we were going to do with memorial trees and that, and I think now is the time to take it forward. We know what we need to do, so if you're happy, I'll go and speak to the cemetery officer and we can put that plan together and bring it to the next meeting, because it would recoup a lot of our money.
And this is the time of year to do it.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah. It will cause a problem in that there's work for the team to establish the plinths and all the rest of it, but once going, that'll more than pay for itself.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
Anything further on financial reports? If not, I'll move on to small grants, 14524.
The Thetford Bulldogs Football Club has made an application. They've actually had quite a broad application. It's either they've got 3 new teams, not terms as we've written on the assessment checklist. So they'll be looking to spend money on that or on some work on maintenance of their pitches. We've gone through the application. Unfortunately, the only thing that they haven't done is submitted some financial information, and we just look at that to make sure that they're viable and that the grant is not being used to kind of be the last plug in a insolvency or pay some urgent creditors. So we have asked for that information. So my recommendation is that the committee was to support this, would be we won't do anything until we receive that information and get that assurance that they do have annual accounts and that they're fairly solvent.
Sure.
Yep. Thetford Bulldogs. Now, obviously, people are aware that I'm very fond of our grassroots sport and football. I'd like to try and repropose something for the Bulldogs. They've been a club in Thetford for a long time. I'm pretty sure they'd be financially secure. On the weekend, they held their one of the biggest summer football tournaments in East Anglia. It went over Saturday and Sunday. They had hundreds of teams over there. It's a really, I went there Saturday to sport in the afternoon and again on the Sunday. Bulldogs supply medals for every single player, trophies for the winners and the losers, etc. They pay for all the referees and they really make it a good day out. I would like to think that unfortunately, they missed out on the unlocking Thetford potential because I think they thought they wasn't entitled to apply for it because they was a football club and they're not, they thought it was open to other people other than them. And I'd like to put a suggestion forward that with the ground maintenance on their pitches, would the town council donate maybe seed or stuff to support their pitches, and the town council then support them with a kit, because I know they're going to start 3 brand new teams again this season, and the kits for children are pretty inexpensive compared to adults' kits. I don't know if that's a proposal we can put forward to support them in both ways, because, you're looking at probably a full kit around about 450 quid. And the maintenance I don't know how much the maintenance is, I'm not a maintenance person. But I'm just wondering if that's something that we can look at to support one of our local clubs.
I think this is.
I have a view on that.
I think this is where we don't have general powers of competency, which means that we can only do what's the functions of local government.
Yeah.
If we were, previous town clerks had applied for general power of competencies, we would have a lot more flexibility to do that. Unfortunately, none of my predecessors has ever done that. So we are bound by Section 137, and sponsorship is not one of the things, unfortunately, that we can do. We can provide us with a grant, but we can't provide sponsorship. If we had general powers of competency, we could basically give money to individuals, but we can't because of that restriction. So we are subject to Section 137 of the Local Government Act.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
Anyone else got anything to comment on that? If not, I'm going to fire off a bit. It seems to me we're going through the process of allocating them a small grant, which I'm very pleased about. Not least as it was Kirsty who came to me and we sort of chatted around this, and it was me who pushed her into to applying. If we do offer sponsorship and offer seed and all these other things, then very quickly it becomes endless. You know, why Bulldogs and why not somebody else? And I don't really see any particular good argument to.
I was only suggesting, was just if we could do, I didn't realise there was that, you know, in a way, I didn't realise we couldn't do that at all.
I can't agree with you. The fact that they're putting an application in for the £500, you know, shows that they're on the path to it. There's no reason why they can't do that again next year. And, you know, if your figures are right, then that would pay for a strip in any case. I think it's important we do stay within the bounds of the structure that we've already got, because otherwise, the fact that they're a good group aside, it makes it a little bit unfair for everybody else, you know, because, you know, we like them and we give them extra as well as the 500, it looks a bit odd. So I think it's important we stay within that. But what we can do is encourage them to do next year's and, you know, give them a little bit of coaching, if you like, on what perhaps they ought to put in for. I'm not completely convinced about the land management piece, because that belongs to somebody else. I'm honest, I don't understand that enough, but I think the strip is a great idea. I've never heard of general competency thing before. No, that's really interesting. And perhaps that's a story for another day, whether we need to do that. I don't know, you know, but you know.
Town clerks either love it or hate it. So
right, okay.
The 2 or 3 town clerks before me hated it. They've kept it below the.
There are some work involved in it then.
No, what it does is it removes power of the town clerk in essence, because at the moment the town clerk doesn't approve something. He could say, okay, well, 6137 for him, show it to me in 6137.
Right.
General powers of competency, you can basically do anything you like, provided it's not, you know, gambling or whatever. So it removes the restrictions of what local government can do that's in the existing legislation.
Conversation for another day.
On the slight subject of answering you, Mac, on the fact that they do play at Euston Park. It was a long time ago that Thetford Rovers moved over there, and it was really solely because there was no football pitch in Thetford suitable. They approached the Duke of Grafton, who has kindly let them use the land for peppercorn rent, providing they maintain it. And then Bulldogs, then they sort of outsized what they was doing. And I think they play at Euston Park, they play in the grammar school fields, and they also play at the rugby club. That's a huge, you know, amount of kids and young girls that play football, and they're all spread around, sort of around the town. But that is the sole reason why they
don't play any at the football club.
No, because the 2 pitches are technically run by Thetford Town.
They have their own junior team.
Yeah.
All right, so they're in competition with them.
Yeah. Basically. So basically, it was years ago, there was Thetford Rovers and Thetford Town. And they used to play where the town pitch is there, the Thetford Rovers used to play almost behind that pitch.
Yeah.
And then the pitches became irreparable because people were just going across it, and Thetford Rovers moved out to Euston Park.
Understood.
I think the other point I'd make, and this is sort of anecdotally, is when I spoke to Kirsty about this, Kirsty runs Thetford Bulldogs, she had no idea this money was available. So we're at the start of this road. And I echo what you were saying about, you know, next year and so on and so forth. And I think she was very pleased to get this, not realising that it was available. And so that's a real bonus for Thetford Bulldogs anyway. I think we'll move on from there.
I have a technical question for Alan. So with these, I thought that people had to give a breakdown of what they're actually spending the money on, because unless Stuart had said about it being 450, I had no idea how much a kit would cost. Is that part of the rules when they're applying? Because all the others have had a breakdown.
Maybe they just put the line items. If we need to spend the money here or here, because people can put line items down. We don't verify it. What we should be doing, and we haven't been doing, is we should be going back to all the grantees and saying every year and saying, gave you this money, what did you spend it on? We just haven't had the capacity to do that. But that is one of the things that we have to do. You know, I've been doing these grants for a couple of years now. I'm fairly certain. You know, but that's up to the committee. The committee can actually ask for specification before we disperse it. You know, we'd like to give you £500 or £400, or we'd like to give you what cost you're going to incur. Can you go give quotes, and then we can look at the grant to that.
I mean, I think in this instance, as we have an idea of the money, that would be okay, but perhaps in the future, if we don't know the cost of what, like we had the lawn, they did have the cost, but a few months ago we had like the lawnmower and different things. It's like, well, we wouldn't know if they hadn't put that amount, we wouldn't have known how much they were actually spending.
There is a system of oversight. Sort of not being used. Perhaps. I think, again, that's up to individuals to challenge, really, isn't it?
I think, you know, the town is doing a lot of the running here in, you know, checking all the bids and everything. So I don't see any harm in saying at the end of a bid, say, okay, you were successful. Part of the success is that you get the money, but in 6 months, and this is the date in 6 months, you need to have supplied us with what you've done with the money.
Yeah.
And if you haven't,
the contract actually says a year, so.
It does.
Yeah.
Right. Because what I'm thinking is if a group such as the Bulldogs then wanted to put another one in next year, then we'd say, well, no, because you didn't tell us what you spent last year. So.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's completely.
So I'm sure that there would be other groups who would do the same.
I mean, in this particular case, it'd be very easy for them to say we spent it on X.
Yeah.
But I think the principle's reasonable. Any further on?
Second and proposed.
Sorry. Could I have a proposer for the small grant to Thetford Bulldogs? Thank you, Stuart. And a seconder, thank you, Ian. All in favour? Health and safety matters. Okay, well, that's easy. Correspondence, I believe we have some.
We do. So, just a few days ago, we received a letter through the post, which we was aware we could be getting at the previous Community Environmental Services Committee meeting. We mentioned about the antisocial behaviour that had happened to some of the planters within King Street, and the culprits had been caught on camera. And Norfolk Police was working with them alongside their parents. Unfortunately, they're at an age where they cannot be prosecuted, but Norfolk Police did work with the parents and the culprits, if you like, to get them to understand the consequences of what they'd done and some of the things that it affects. So we had a letter come through from Archie, the lad who was caught removing plants from our planters, and he says he's addressed us as Thetford Breckland Council. So, dear Thetford Breckland Council, I am writing this letter to apologise regarding myself from pulling out a plant pot and plants and pulling out plants within the area. Now I realise the effects of my actions towards the town and the community.
I think that's sort of heartening in a way, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, but I'm trying to think of some way that we can highlight that someone has apologised for their behaviour without naming him or whatever. I'm not really coming up with any solutions. I don't know if anyone's got any ideas.
Invite him to do some planting.
I think that's
Not a bad idea.
I think that would be an absolutely blinding idea.
Invite him along. We'll see.
Town council are delighted that we got such a nice letter, and we'd love to invite you along to one of our planting sessions and help care for some of the
I think that is nice, like you say, to
punishment then, is it?
his letter of apology, and we
accept
appreciate
it,
that he's accepting, the consequences of what he had done. At the time, he obviously didn't, but we appreciate that he has now, and thank him for, writing into the council to send his apologies. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Sounds good to me.
All done on that? 14824 action points from previous meetings.
Give you a quick update if you like.
Please.
On 73123, that has been done.
Good.
5824, that has been done for a second time. Another person came to full council meeting and said that we hadn't sent a letter. I can assure you that someone in this room actually personally put it through his letterbox. So it was, and we've just sent him a second letter by recorded mail to make sure that it's received, and 6124 is now done.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We know the action points, that's it. Yeah. 14924, community engagement, to discuss and agree any consultation on media release required. I think we've sort of already covered that, haven't we, with the stuff in the market? Unless anybody's got anything further to add, and also the town team work.
The small grant? Would someone like to take the big check?
I think that's worth doing. It helps us and helps them, doesn't it?
Want me to do it?
Sorry?
Do you want me to do it, or send a check, or?
No, that's up to Hazel.
Sorry,
Well,
Oh, no, because we could do the big check.
oh, the big check thing. Oh, sorry. I would
Right out myself.
Well, get out of the way. It was me who went to her and sorted it out, so I think it should be me handing the check over. I really do. Jumping on my good work.
Fortunately, that's photographs before Thursday.
Kirby jumped on mine at the cricket club.
I agreed with it. Can I hold one corner?
Very welcome to have whichever corner you wish.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, we could agree that, I think. And 15024 committee officers day.
One of the things that we decided at mayor making was that this committee would be the trustees, sorry, the board members of the Lady Gentle Memorial Trust. So what we tried to do is get a meeting. I should have actually organised before this meeting happened. But what we were proposing is, if there's going to be a planning meeting, because there's hardly any plans, if we could have a meeting before planning next Tuesday, just to run through some kind of issues, and because it hasn't met for a couple of years, this whole government structure is way behind. So it gives us an opportunity to start getting that going and making sure that we can tick the box. We're complying with our corporate trustee responsibilities.
Yep. Thank you.
So I'll know tomorrow whether there is going to be a planning meeting, because like I said, I think at the moment, I think there's only one plan that we have to comment on. So you might want to decide to do it.
Could we not tag it on the end of this, or not? Is that something totally different?
Stuart, he couldn't make this meeting, so that's, so he's got to run it, yeah. So we'll propose, if I check, in principle, you'd be happy to come, half an hour or 45 an hour before planning next Tuesday, run through those matters.